Hi, this is Becky with the Howard County Library System, and today we're going to take a look at how to use Google Docs. You're first going to want to navigate to your Google Drive. If you're not sure how to get here or you don't already have a Google account, check out the first two videos in this series on how to create a Google account and an intro to Google Drive. But once you're here, you're going to start a new Google Docs file by clicking the New button here, and then hover over where it says Google Docs. You'll see with this little arrow here that you have the option to choose from a blank document or from a template. For this example, we're going to start off with a blank document, so you can go ahead and click that. Or you can just click Google Docs right here, and that will automatically open a blank document. The first thing we're going to do is name our document. So for this video, we're going to be using a resume as an example. Resumes often have a lot of different formatting options, so it's going to give us a really good look at how to use all the features of Google Docs. So you can just type resume here. And then we're going to just start off by putting information down on the page. So I'm going to start with a name first. We'll just use generic Jane Smith. And then hit enter, and then I'll put a location, Columbia, Maryland, and then I'm going to type a phone number. But before I do that, I want some kind of separation between the location and the phone number. So for that, I am going to use this vertical line. You can find it on your keyboard. It's usually found by hitting the Shift key and then the button with the vertical line and backslash on it. Then I'll type the phone number, another vertical line, and an email. And then I'm going to hit enter twice and put a summary section. So I'll type summary, hit enter, and then type in my summary here. After that, I'll hit enter twice again, and I'll put experience. And then I'm just going to fill in some information for this first job history entry. Okay, and I think that's enough information down on the page for us to get started using a little bit of formatting to make it look a little nicer and easier to read. So first, I'm going to start out by highlighting the name and personal info. So I'm going to click here at the end of the email, click, hold, and drag all the way up to the first name. And then I'm going to center align this information. So I'm going to come up to the toolbar here, find Align, click on that, and then I'm going to use the Center Align. So right now it's Left Align, you can see it highlighted in blue, and I'm going to click Center Align. And then I am going to increase the font size of the name, just so it stands out a little more. So I can highlight the name, remember click, hold, and drag, and then I'll come up here to the font size and click this plus sign, and we'll go up to 14. And then I'm also going to bold the name. So this B right next to the font size, I'm going to click that, and then you can see the name is bold. So I'm liking the way that looks, but I think there needs to be a little more white space between the name, just so it really stands out first thing on the page. So to do that, I am going to highlight the name and then come up here to the line and paragraph spacing. So you can see right here the current line spacing is at 1.15. It has that little check mark next to it. I'm going to increase that to 1.5. And I think that looks pretty good. So next I'm going to format my summary section. So I'm going to make the word summary bold, just like we did for the name. And to make it really stand out as a section header, I'm going to make it all capital. Now you can certainly do this by backspacing the word summary and then turning on your cap locks and retyping it. But there's a little bit of an easier way to do it so you don't have to retype the word. So I'm going to come up here to Format and then find Text, Capitalization, and change it to uppercase. And I'm going to do the same thing to this Experience section. So I'm going to bold it, Format, Text, Capitalization, uppercase. And then that way each of our section headers look the same. Okay, so next I want to tackle this first job entry, which right now isn't too easy to read. So the first thing I want to do is make it so the name of the company and the time worked there are on the same line. But I want to have Broken Cookie Bakery on the left-hand side and 2015 to present on the right-hand side. So in order to do this, first I'm going to bring the 2015 to present up to the same line as Broken Cookie Bakery. So I'll just put my cursor right in front of 2015, click there, and then hit backspace. So now we have the information on the same line, but we don't have it separated on the left and the right. So to do that, I'm going to come up to the top of the page where the ruler is, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to add right tab stop. So you may or may not have used the tab key on your keyboard before, but basically what it does is it adds an indentation to the line when you're typing. So often you'll see this at the beginning of paragraphs. So by us adding a right tab stop, we're changing the default spacing that occurs when you hit that tab key. So now if we come down here with our cursor right in front of the 2015, right in front of the section of text that we want on the right, we can hit tab. You'll see that instead of the usual 3 spaces or so that you get with hitting the tab key, it jumps it all the way to the right to our tab stop that we have up on the ruler. You'll see it, it's a little blue triangle. So if you click on this triangle, click and hold, you can drag it around and change the indentation from the right. So I'm just going to line it up with the end of our paragraph here. And then I'm also going to highlight Broken Cookie Bakery and make that bold. Then I'll come down here to the job title, Cashier, and I'm going to make that italic, just so it stands out a little bit from the paragraph we have underneath of it, but it's not quite as attention-grabbing as Broken Cookie Bakery. Finally, for this section, I want to change the list of job duties we have to a bulleted list. So in order to do that, I'm going to highlight the entire list. So start down, click after Systems, click, hold, and drag all the way up to Assisted. Then the entire list is highlighted in blue. And I'm going to come up to the toolbar, and I'm going to click Bulleted List. And then you can see it adds bullet points at each of the lines that we typed. Okay, so we are going to add another job history entry, but this time we're going to format it as we go. So the first thing we have to do is start a new line. So if we hit enter, you can see that we're still in the bulleted list. So to get out of a bulleted list, all you have to do is hit backspace, and then that will delete the bullet point, but we want to hit backspace one more time to get to the beginning of the new line, so we're not indented. All right, then I'm going to hit enter again just to add a blank line to keep things separated. And I'm going to start off by typing the name of the company. But remember, we made that bold in the first section. So before I start typing, I'm going to come up here and click the bold button. And you can see when I move away that the B is now highlighted in blue. That means that anything you type from now on is going to be bold. So we're going to put in Ken's Food Store. And then we're done typing in bold, so we can click the bold button again to turn it off. You see it's no longer highlighted in blue. Okay, so next we're going to add the time period that we worked there. And then we want to use the tab stop again so that we can move the dates over to the right. We'll hit tab. And then we're going to come up here and move our tab stop so it's in line with the one we had before, the 2015 to present. Okay, we'll hit enter to go to the line below. And then we want to type the job title. And remember, we did that in italics before. So we're going to come up to the toolbar, click italics. We're going to type our job title, cashier, and click italics to turn it off. Finally, to do our list of job duties, we're going to hit enter. And then we want to start our bulleted list. So we're going to come up to the toolbar, hit bulleted list. You'll see it's highlighted in blue and it added a bullet point for us. And then we can type out our job duties. Whenever we're done with the first one, we can hit enter and you'll see a new bullet point is added. And then you just keep going down the list until you're finished. And then when you're done and you want to exit the bulleted list, you're just going to hit backspace to get rid of the bullet point and then backspace again to get to the start of the new line. So it's really up to you what way you like to format. If you like to get all the information on the page and then format it after, like we did for the Broken Cookie Bakery section, or if you like to format as you go, like we did for the Ken's Food Store. Either way works, it's really just your preference. So I'm going to quickly add one more job history entry, just so we can get some more information down on the page. And I'm going to choose to just type all the information and then format after. That's the way I like to do it. But again, it really doesn't matter. Whatever way gets you there. All right, then we're going to add another section. We're going to add an education section. So I'm going to exit my bulleted list. And then I'm going to hit enter again to get a blank line. And then I'm going to type education for the section header. And under that, I'm just going to fill in our education information. So we'll do CCBC Catonsville, and we'll put the number of credits that we completed. And then we're going to add a list of relevant coursework. So I will just quickly fill those in, and I'm hitting enter after each course to go to a new line. And then after I'm done with that, I want to change the formatting of our section header so it matches the ones above. So first, I'm just going to hit enter to add a blank line under it to give it a little more breathing room. And then I am going to bold it. I'm going to come up here to format, text, capitalization, and change it to uppercase. Okay. And then I am going to make CCBC Catonsville bold so the name of the school will stand out. Now, instead of using the bold button on the toolbar at the top, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut. So after you have the text that you want bold highlighted, you can hit Control B on your keyboard, and then that's going to bold the text. So I'm going to do a similar thing with the 24 credits completed. I want to make that italics, but I'm going to use another keyboard shortcut. So for italics, you want to highlight the text and hit Control-I on your keyboard. Okay, so for relevant coursework, I think I want to do another bulleted list. So I can highlight that, come up here and click bulleted list. But I think I want something a little different than the standard black bullet point. So if you click the arrow next to the bulleted list button up here, you can see that there's different list options. But to get even more options, you can come up here to Format, Bullets and Numberings, and then hit List Options. So I'm going to choose this open circle here. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to change this relevant coursework, make that lowercase, and then I'm going to indent it a little. So I could do this by just hitting the spacebar a few times or hitting the tab key on our keyboard. But I'm going to show you one other option that comes in handy a lot. So if you have your cursor at the beginning of the line, you can come up to the ruler and see this blue triangle. We're going to click and hold that. And then you can see that blue line is starting to move, and it's going to change where your line starts on the page. So we can move this over a little and add an indentation. This is really handy when you're doing multiple lines with different indentations and you need to line them up throughout the page. So just like we did when we were moving our dates to the right side, we were able to use that ruler line to make sure that each date was aligned with the others. Okay, we have a little bit more room left on the page, so I'm going to add one more section. I'm going to do an awards section. So for this, I know I need to match the formatting of our other section headers, so I need to make it bold and I need to make it capital. So because I know my formatting ahead of time, I can go ahead and switch on bold by hitting Control-B on my keyboard. And then I'm going to make it capital by hitting caps locks on my keyboard. And then I'll type out awards. And then I'll turn off bold by hitting Control-B again. And turn off caps locks by hitting that again on my keyboard. All right, then I'm going to hit Enter. Enter again, and then I'm going to do, let's say, an employee of the month, and we'll say we earned that 3 months while we were working there. Okay, that is looking pretty good. So I just want to show you one more way that you can separate sections. So right now we just have our section headers in bold and capital. But if you wanted to add something else, we could add a horizontal line to separate each of our sections. So to do that, I'm going to put my cursor at the end of the first section, the summary section. I'll click right after environment. And then I'm going to come up to insert and then horizontal line. And you can see it added a horizontal line right after our summary section. But then we also have this blank line right under it before our experience. And to me, that's a little bit too much white space. You'll see my cursor's right at the beginning of that line. And then I'll hit backspace. And then I'm going to do that one more time just so experience is right under that line. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing after our experience section. I'm going to put my cursor at the end of the section right after deliveries. I'll go to Insert, Horizontal Line. And then you can see it added a horizontal line, but because we were in a bulleted list, it didn't do it the full way across the page. It only added the horizontal line the length of our bulleted list. And then when our new line was added, it has a bullet point on it. So we're going to have to add this line a little different. So first we want to undo that horizontal line we just added. So you can come up here and hit undo on the toolbar, or you can use the keyboard shortcut, which is Control Z. And these keyboard shortcuts are pretty universal. So even if you're not using Google Docs or Google Drive in general, hitting Control Z will 9 times out of 10 undo your mistake. So that's a really good keyboard shortcut to commit to memory. Okay, so let's try this again. First, we want to exit our bulleted list. So after deliveries, we'll hit enter. We'll see a bullet point, and we'll hit backspace twice. And then we can see our cursors at the start of a blank line. We can go up to insert, horizontal line. And then I'll just hit backspace to get rid of some of that white space. And then hit backspace again so education is right under the horizontal line just like we did above. Okay, I think the top section is looking really good. The only problem I have is down here, our education and awards section. It leaves a lot of white space on the right. So I want to try to change that by using 2 columns instead of 1. So I'm going to highlight our awards and our education section. I'm going to come up to Format, Columns, and change it to 2. So now we have 2 columns, but this awards section is not in line with the education. So I want to change that. So it would stand to reason if I put my cursor in front of awards and hit backspace, it would get rid of that blank line, and then the awards section would be in line with education. But if I do that, instead of just getting rid of the blank line, because we have 2 columns, it also shifts our text so that the last line of our first column is now the first line of our second column. And that's not what we want. We want the second column to start with awards. So to do that, I'm going to put my cursor in front of awards, and I'm going to come up to the toolbar, and I'm going to go Insert, Break, Column Break. That way we're able to tell where we want our columns to separate. And now our page looks a little more balanced with the education on the left and the awards on the right. But I think I'm just going to make the dates on our awards section italic. I think that looks a little better. All right, I think that is a pretty good looking resume. We used a lot of different formatting features. So finally, you may be thinking, how do you save this? Well, the good thing with Google Drive is that it is automatically saving your documents for you. So if you come up to the top of the page here, you can see this little cloud. If we hover over that, it says See Document Status. So if we click on it, we'll see that all changes were saved to Drive. So this is one of my favorite features of Google Drive. Whenever you're typing away at a document, you don't have to worry about saving it or losing your changes if you forget to save. As long as you're connected to the internet, it's just going to automatically save for you. So that was a look at some of the basic features of Google Docs, but there's always more to learn. I encourage you to keep practicing, making examples for yourself, just clicking buttons and see what they do. That's the best way to learn. Be sure to check out our next video in this series where we take a look at using Google Sheets.